All right then. Um, Good morning, everyone. Warm welcome to all of you joining us today. My name is Shomudeep, and I am absolutely thrilled to be your host for a very special milestone, the first IBM User Group Kolkata meetup. It is incredible to see you guys joining us for our inaugural session of this online virtual series. Today's session is titled Unlock IBM Bob, a deep dive and showcase. We have a packed 60 minutes ahead of us, designed to take you behind the scenes of IBM Bob, exploring its capability and show some incredible live demonstration. Before we dive in, just few quick tips to help everything run smoothly. Please keep your microphone muted during the presentation to avoid any background noise. If you have any question during the question, please drop them in the uh, comment or chat box, and we will have a dedicated question and answer segment towards end. So, without any further ado, let's start things. Let's start it. Please join me in welcoming our speaker of today, Sagrika. Over to you.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Samdeep. Hi, everyone. Hope all of you can see me and hear me well. Very happy to be here presenting one of our flagship products here at IPM. It's our baby product because we launched it just a couple of months ago, and we are very happy with the way it has been performing in the market. And I am very happy to have all of you here to learn about IBM Bob. And we know, like, we have the dedicated Q&A section in the end. I'll be also like looking at the chat in case you have any questions, because this is a smaller group, so let's keep it interactive. In case any of you have any particular problem of your own that you would want to understand how Bob can help you with, just raise your hand, and we can, like, talk and discuss about it. So to start with, I'll just share my screen. Let me know if all of you can see Bob.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, great, great. So before I give you all a demo of what Bob is, and one second, let me just minimize this window. What how to use Bob and what are its capabilities. Let me just take you through it, like a little talk a little bit upon why we built Bob, why IBM built Bob. So if last year, if you would have seen, the software industry was completely reshaped in the last 1.5 year, and how software is being built today is completely different from how it was being built a few years ago. So what 2025 taught us is that AI is not an individual developer throughput. It is now embedded everywhere in an enterprise. And it's not just for one of use cases, it is basically embedded into every process of the software development lifecycle within an enterprise that exists. So, looking at where we were last year and where we are going now, using AI is, it's like it has become not just a need, but it's like everyone has to use AI, because one, it is helping with the productivity. Second, it is bringing people up to speed, from where we would have, like, say, taken months. It's helping us do the same thing in days. But then there also are other factors when we talk about an enterprise context, like governance, security, and cost, that's come into picture of why we also have to be very vigilant when it comes to using AI and choosing the right product and applying it into the right area. So now that we understood where the industry is moving towards, a little bit more upon why Bob. Like, so if you look at this image, This is where all the developers lie with the developer workflows. uh, all of you must be building one or more platform software. You must be a front end, back end, full stack, some kind of developer, a QA engineer. But what lies behind is also the complexity and scale of an enterprise, the cost and operational signals that are not which visible in the front, but all these are existing within an enterprise. Now what the current market tools do is they are very good when it comes to building singular code, understanding the current task. Like for example, if you put in a query, okay, explain me this code, or like modify, add like a button in this page of this website, like they're very good in doing individual tasks. But looking at this, like that, the scale, the security and the cost are also like factors that govern an SDLC in an enterprise. That's why we built Bob, because Bob just doesn't focus on one task. It is holistically, if you give it a task, it holistically looks into an enterprise context of your workspace and see how the task needs to be implemented in the right security protocols with the right refactored code within the cost optimization principle, so that it is benefiting not just a developer but an enterprise as a whole. And this is why we built IBM Bob, so that we can help teams move from isolated tools to coordinate and govern delivery across the entire software development lifecycle. So I'll take a pause and just reiterate, Bob is not just an isolated tool that focuses on one code development or code generation task, but it is governed across delivery of your entire software across your software development lifecycle. So just building up on that last statement, so Bob operates within not just, as I mentioned, not just one task, but it helps you plan, it helps you uh, plan, govern, and then code, build, test it out, iterate, release, operate, and then again plan. So basically, of this, these are all the phases of your software development life cycle, right? So starting with, like, as a software architect, you want to plan implementation of a particular feature, or if you want to, like for example, integrate some new technology or a new product in your ecosystem. So it will help you plan the same as a software architect. Then you build, move on, based on the plan, move on to building code. You would know like what languages, what tools, what integration principles to follow, what APIs to call, etc., etc. In today's time, what MCPs to build, and then move on to building the same. You speed up integration cycles using Bob, and then the Bob will itself help you test, not just test what code you have built, but also perform all sort of integration testing, not just unit testing, but like integration testing into your workspace. And then iterate, like based on the feedback. Bob will itself give feedback and iterate and then release and then see what operational modifications you need, what further you want to govern, what further want to change, and then again plan, code, build, test, and move on to this cycle. So Bob is embedded in each phase of your software development lifecycle. Talking a bit about IBM. So even though I say like IBM has built Bob, but in today's context, and this number is different now, we have more than 150K developers within IBM using Bob today. So if I tell you 40% of Bob is itself built by Bob. So when I say that, it means even though we have developers sitting and building Bob, but those developers are also using Bob to build Bob itself. So 40% of the product that I will demo today is itself built by Bob. And then Bob is the only way IBM today is building software. So any IBM product that you see from an enterprise context, today all developers within IBM are using Bob to build it. And if I and we have like a lot of client zero case studies. We have integrated Bob in a lot of workflows, built agents for a lot of platforms, and we learn from our own teams and developers. We learn from our own product teams and those developers, like what exactly are Bob's strengths, weaknesses, how to improve Bob, and we are in that constant loop of getting feedback and improving and building Bob. So every 2 weeks We have releases like we just had a major Bob 2.0 release last week, and we are already planning on 2.0.1. So so the cycle at which we are building Bob is quite fast, and IBM has definitely unlocked Bob's potential. Now, just want to touch upon, like, four major. So when people definitely ask, what are Bob's strengths as compared to other products in the market. I want to like categorize amongst the competitors in these four different verticals: enabling teams, modernization at scale, shift left security, and cost optimization. So let me talk about enabling teams. I think I've touched a lot about enabling teams already. I've explained like how it just embeds into a workflow and process, and then the delivery part. So let me move on to modernization at scale. So one of the differentiator that we have with Bob is basically modernizing your legacy apps. So with IBM Bob, we have built agentic workflows which will help you modernize your legacy apps, and a developer doesn't need to spend time understanding a legacy piece of code and then going on writing or using another tool's help to write a new version of that code. When I say modernization, I talk about application modernization, basically specifically Java modernization, the reverse engineering of legacy systems. We have Bob analyze RPG code, it generates the design documentation diagrams, and it simplifies complex logic. Refactoring all the legacy apps into more optimized codes and using the newer principles. Java application modernization we already spoke about, and mainframe refactoring and maintenance. So, for example, we have WebSphere as an app, and now we have Liberty as the newer version of WebSphere. So a lot of our enterprise customers are still on WebSphere, and then there is a major dire need to move on to Liberty. And these are the workflows that we have built agents on Bob to modernize it within minutes. What would have taken say years for these companies to do, we have automated and brought in agents to do that within minutes, and then help them modernize it in real time. Talking about shift left security, so what happens is, for example, if a developer is today building a piece of code, there might be some vulnerabilities that might have been gotten exposed in that code, or like there might be some security practices that a particular software needs to follow through that were not part of that code. So what these other tool does is, for example, if you're using another comparator tool to build it, it will basically tell you at the end of it, maybe running unit test or whatever, that this might be a security vulnerability. But what Bob does, it helps you predict vulnerability in real time, and I will show you like where it does that. So while you are writing the code, it is also testing for vulnerabilities and securities, and like helping you fix those in real time so that your code is clean. That's what we call as shift left security. Now let me go on to cost optimization. Now, all of you must have already used certain tools, certain AI models that are already existing. Cloud Code is like one of the most famous and you know preferred tool that I keep hearing when I talk to like developers outside. So uh, cost optimization. Now, how important is money? Like, even as an individual developer, burning tokens is what like everyone fears, and then there's only a limited amount of tokens that we can consume within a certain budget. So we have sorted out this problem with Bob. So even what Bob does is like it understands your task. So if you give it a prompt, it will first understand what kind of task it is. It will automatically do intelligent model routing. We have a big model team sitting out of Canada lab who basically test the frontier models so that the developer doesn't need to choose which model they want to work with. We are choosing the best model based on your task, even more than one model for a particular task. And then we are helping optimize cost based on the task and the model selection, and then giving you an optimized and attributed outcome and optimizing everything in the workflow. So how Bob is helping with cost is basically we have a team of people who look at these frontier models, who will choose the best model automatically on Bob for your particular task, condense the context, help optimize tokens so that you do not burn out your tokens with Bob very fast. And then I think I've spoken enough about Bob. Now let me see in case there are any questions in the chat up till now. If not, then okay. So let's move on to the demo. I think let me introduce you all to Bob. I hope all of you can see my screen. So Bob is an AI based IDE. I'm sure like all of you must have already used one or more IDEs like IntelliJ for Java developers, VS Code, very famous with other developers like Python and front end developers and etc. So Bob is also an IDE, but it's an AI powered IDE. What we have here are you will find, you will draw parallels with VS Code because it's very similar to VS Code. What I already have open is a project that I would work upon in this demo. So let me like just kind of minimize everything. And then what you see here is Bob. This is Bob 2.0. If any of you have already used Bob 1.0, you would know like how there are different modes here and etc etc. But for the ones who are new to Bob, let me quickly take you around Bob. So here we have the chat box, which when you write a prompt, it will help you start a new task. We have something called modes. We have three modes. Ignore the document writer mode. Let me quickly explain you the other three modes: ask, plan, and agent. Ask mode is basically when you have a question about a particular code base or a particular technology or or anything as a developer on your code. If you want to ask something, you go to the ask mode. Ask mode is specifically where Bob will restrict itself to not make any edits or changes to your code. It is only focusing on retrieving and presenting information in the right manner for you. Then we have the plan mode. Plan mode is basically for software architects and senior software architects. When I gave an example, right? Like as an architect, if you want to embed new technology, for example, if you want to build an agent on your website, AI agent on your website, and you want to infuse say a model, you want to infuse technologies like LangChain and other stuff. Like you use the plan mode, have Bob architect that solution, make a plan like how you have to go on about it based on your ecosystem of your e-commerce website, and then implement it. And then there's something called the last mode that we have is the agent mode. This is where the work happens. So agent mode is specifically from a simple code generation task to building skills and agents. Agent mode is where you will do everything. And uh, it why we had like five modes before. Why we optimized it into three is because we figure out that everything that we need from code generation, because people are not just using Bob for code generation. There are like multiple activities that are happening now. People are working on building complex things like skills, embedding skills in agents, embedding agents in their workflows, running MCPs, etc. So that's why everything now needs to be merged into one mode, which is called the agent mode. Now, when I spoke about model optimization, you would see like the difference between other tools, amongst other tools and Bob, is that you don't have a provision to choose the model here. Now, this is a question I know like all of you would have, so I'm answering that before anybody asks me that question. We have restricted the option to choose the model because Bob is something like we focus on optimizing your token usage, Bobcoin usage for you. So what we do is, instead of you choosing like, okay fine, you like to work with say Opus 4.8 or something like that, right? But what we are doing is, for your task, for example, if you want to build an MCP server, say for your website, just giving an example there. So maybe Opus is not the right model for you, but you are building it on Opus and you will exhaust, because Opus focuses on complex tasks and like brings in extra explanation and reasoning to it. But you are using that model, right? Like, so you might burn like more coins there. But what we do is we optimize based on what your prompt is. We will choose the best model based on the programming language that you're using, because not all models would be equally good in programming languages, and there are a lot of evaluations that our team does with respect to benchmarks in measuring these models to understand which model for which best solution. So that's why we have restricted the option for the user to choose the model here, so that you don't have to worry about anything. Our team is working on behind the scenes. Now there's something called permissions here. What this permission is basically, like how much access to give AI, because as a developer you also need to know, like, AI is also capable of deleting your entire code base. So uh, looking at that, we have given this option, like, as a developer, what controls do you want to have Bob over your entire code base? So I have given it control to read, edit, execute, build an MCP, execute an MCP, skill, execute the to-do list, sub-task, sub-agents mode. So I have provided auto approve functionality to all of these areas. I can also, like, say, okay, do not implement sub agent and subtasks, but for now, for this demo, I'm gonna like give it access. So based on your requirement, you can choose what to give access to and what not to give access to. Now let me take you to the settings. So here we have the settings option, where you would be able to see everything once you get access to Bob, like what's your monthly budget, I have 100 Bob coins, what's my monthly usage up till now, and then so on and so forth, right? Like, and then you can also choose like other options. There's something called one second, yeah, for chat. Here also you can, the same permissions that you have here, you can auto approve and edit and see what you want to like provide access to into more further details here. And you can also restrict certain paths if you want. So these are like extra setting options that you have here with Bob. These three I will come to later during my demo, but MCP mode skills is what I will also explain later on, like why we have them in settings there. Now going on to the app. So I have an app here. uh, I have the code base here open in my Explorer. Let me show you this app. So this is a Bobverse app. So what Bobverse app is, it's basically, it's like a medium app. Like, uh, what we have is we have a lot of articles on Bob, and anybody who wants to say learn about uh, PR, for example, or like MCP. Okay, we don't have an article on MCP. Let's say Bob Shell. Yeah. So we have an article on Bob Shell. So we have like created a lot of articles and listed them on the Bobverse app. So this is a very simple UI, not very, enticing. Now I have loaded the code for this app in Bob. Let me let me first go to the ask mode. And I have joined as a new developer to the team, and nobody in the team has any time to give me knowledge transfer of what this app is, what front end, what back end, what database, etc., etc., architecture considerations, nothing. So nobody, no developer, no senior architect, no engineer is free to give me a download of this app, explain me about this app. So I'm going to go to Bob, and I'm going to just write explain me the Bob verse. And while Bob runs this task, let me take you through what Bob is doing here. So at the top, you see the prompt, right? And you see like we have a task to 270K tokens context size available for this task. So every task you get 270K context, and you see for each action that it's taking, it's consuming certain. So in this task, it has consumed 20.8K tokens up till now. This is the kind of clarity we provide per task. And then you see, like, as Bob is reading through all these files, it says I've explored 7 files, I've explored 4 files, what is Bob words? Bob has given me an architecture view. It's given a small moment diagram here. It's told me about the backend. What are the APIs that I have? That not sorry, the app has. What's the data model, etc. How is the front end structured? What is the folder? What are the pages, etc. And then if I want to see a data flow summary, right, like Bob has also produced me a data flow summary. So depending on the type of developer I am, I can like use this information. Or maybe let me tell Bob, can you save all this in about app file, and Bob will create a .md file within the Bobverse app. So if you see, Bob switched to a doc writer mode, which I custom created before this demo. I will also show you how to create a custom mode by yourself. And then Bob switched to that, and then Bob is going to work, and Bob is going to save that file in my Agentic Lab workspace. So if you see, Bob has saved docs.md file. Let me open. In docs, Bob has created an about.md file, and it has created everything that it displayed here, it has saved here. So for now, we learned how to use the ask mode. Now let me go to the plan mode, and I'm going to start a new task here. Um, let's say, let's go to the app. Let's say I want to add okay, I want to add, say, reading time for all these articles, so that any user who wants to read a particular article, they first see how much time it will take. So let me go to the agent mode directly. Can you add reading time to every article displaying how much time it takes to read through each? So if you see, I've given it a task. This is a coding task, because in this task it will have to, let me close this about MDR. In this task, it will first have to analyze like what's the front end, what's the back end, how to ascertain how much time it will take for each article, and then add a reading time. So but I've not given it any consideration like add to the left, add to the right. Let's see like what Bob does by itself. So in this task, if you see, Bob is first reading through all these files. You can see what Bob is reading. Now, what has changed between Bob 1.0 and Bob 2.0 is earlier all the tasks used to run here. Now, what we have done, we have created something called sub-agents and subtasks. What it does is, for example, this is a very small code base. Like, it's not at all very big, but sometimes your code base is huge in size. You have many files which have thousands lines of code in it, so that makes the context very huge to process within a particular task, considering a particular task window is only of a certain token limit. Let's take a pause. Like, I'm not going to prove, I'm going to talk through first what are sub agents and subtasks. So what we have done is, so Bob itself analyzes if a particular task, say editing a piece of code, will take more amount of context, it will break the task into subtasks and it will work in the backend. So you don't like kind of get stuck within that particular task window. It is breaking every action that it is doing into subtask and subagents and running it in parallel to fulfill uh, one particular item that you have given it to fulfill. Now let's come back to this flow. Now you see, Bob is asking me, do you want to execute this command? It says like it was able to read through, it knows where it has to go and edit. Now it wanted to apply the diff in the front end. You see it, you can see in the window here also, you can open the file here also. It's basically trying to edit the UI file of articles feed, and wants to edit this, it wants itself to edit that, but it's asking me. So this is what we say human in loop. So I will basically approve it once that yes, go ahead and edit it. If the human is not in loop, Bob can do anything. So that kind of control we don't want to give any tool in on our code base. And If you see, for every execution there is something called a button here, globally allowed deny. What it does is, sometimes, like, every time Bob will ask me if it has to implement these commands in the terminal, right? Some I can also like globally approve these commands or globally deny. So based on like your requirements, you can see which ones are okay to globally allow and globally deny. So you can do that from here. Now, since I only approved it once for applying changes in the front end, let me approve it entirely for this task this time. I will let Bob do all the changes. Then I will also show how to see what changes it has done. Because as a developer, sometimes you can go grab some coffee, let Bob be at work. This window might be a little complex for you to understand, but let me also take you through what exactly has happened after Bob has implemented everything. So if you look at it now, Bob is doing some unit and integration testing, and Bob says all 25 tests has passed. So this task is over. Bob has given you a summary. I have modified 3 files. No new file was created. The reading time utilities already existed, so I have just added it in the front end. So Bob has edited these files. And if I go back, in the last step, Bob executed unit tests, and Bob said, okay, fine, all the tests have been passed. And if you want to see all the tasks that to-do list Bob creates for itself, you can go back here and see what other tasks that it implemented in parallel. And if you want to see which files were changed, Bob changed these files. You can click on them, see the diff. Now there's another feature. This Bob will always list in terms of the sequence in which Bob has edited each of these files, starting from the first one as first edited to the last one as the last edited. So if I want to undo, if I, as a developer, I feel Bob kind of made a mistake, say in this file, I saw this and I feel this is wrong. What Bob did, I can go here and I can undo it. I can undo changes at any point of time. This is also a feature that is provided in Bob. Now let's go to the front end. If you see, we did not have this before. Next to each article, Bob has added the time that it will take to go through each article here, 3-minute read. Now let's see if we can just refresh this app. Yeah, so the reading time has been added. I'll just take a pause and let me go back to the window and see if any of you have any questions. Does it integrate in multiple layers of platform and stuck on one or two limited platforms? Can you elaborate on that question? What do you mean by platform? If you want, you can unmute and speak as well. Okay, so let me see if I understand that question correctly. Does it integrate in multiple layers of platforms? So if, for example, I have this code base open, right, of my app. So right now it is integrated in this entire code base in a workspace. My workspace has only one code base. So yes, it's going to work only here. If I have to open another code base, say I will open a new window of Bob, I can load another project here. Let me open the Simple Pharmacy app. So if I understand correctly, from a code based standpoint, I can open one project in each window. I can work on the same project in multiple terminals, in multiple windows also. And when it comes to the platform, uh, if you mean by integrating my MCPs, yes, it can integrate into multiple platforms. Okay, coming back to this demo. Now we saw how to understand a code base, how to add a particular feature. Now let me first just minimize this. Go down, start a new task. Show you something called dot pop. Okay, yeah. Do you guys see this? Uh, do you guys see this image? So we saw that Bobverse is a very basic UI, etc., etc. Now these are specifically for UI UX and front end developers. So we saw this is a very basic UI. My UX designer has told, okay, I change this to this UI, and we have this image. Ideally, we can connect directly to a Figma MCP, pull in our Figma files directly here. But today, for this demo, I have it saved as a PNG. What I can do is I can give Bob task, use the, say, new design, let me see, file, and make changes to the front end UI of the articles page. Ideally, like, the prompt should be better written, like little bit more defined, like ensure that you keep the grid lines as shown in the image. All the tags that you see here should be changed to explore by topic, and the tag should be added at the bottom. And then the search bar should come at the top, a little bit more. A good prompt would have like very structured information, but I am a very lazy developer, so I'm just going to give like this basic prompt, and let's see how much Bob can do. But yeah, but because we also have less time, right? Like, I want to show other features as well, like MCPs, modes, and skills. So I have just given this basic prompt, and we let Bob do its work. Now, let me actually go back to this window. So you see this button here. What this button does is, this button opens all the tasks that you have previously uh, created. So in each task, you can go ahead and you can rename, open the task in the new tab, copy your prompt, pin this task, or delete this task, or export this entire task and share with your team. So we have like these options available for each of these tasks. You can start a new task from here. If this list grows a lot, you can search by adding like some keywords what you have used to rename it. Ideally, you should always rename the tasks. Let's go back to our current task and see what Bob is asking. So if you see, Bob is saying, I found the current articles, but I can't reliably infer every intended visual detail. See, that's what I told. The visual detail, it could not understand everything. So it's given me options. Do you want to match the screenshot as closely? Only update the main layout. Tell me exact UI changes. So let me just say this one because you want to move faster. Okay, now coming back to our tasks list, there's something. Uh, Let me expand this window. Yeah, so that you can see what's also happening on the left. You can export an entire task list as well, or you can also import. If, for example, multiple developers are working on same code bases, right, and somebody has built MCPs and you want to import, like, you can import those task files, etc., etc. Here, in the settings, let's go here. We have something called skills modes MCP. I hope like everyone understands today what are MCPs, what are modes, what are skills, how to build agents, etc. So what we have done is, we have, for every project that you will load in Bob, we create a folder called .bob folder. You see this folder here, right? In .bob folder, everything that you build in that particular project, if you build a skill, if you build MCP connection using Bob, if you build an agent using Bob, all those files will appear in the .bob folder for you to access, because those are those project based specific files. Now, how do, actually, let me go back here. Let's close the tasks. Let's see what Bob is doing. Okay, Bob is in deep thought right now. What we also show is, if you open this particular button, it shows you how many tokens used, how many Bob coins are being used. So even though like your tokens being used might be 240k or whatever, and this task is causing you 0.6.24 Bob coins. So for every task that you have done, you can actually see what was the token cost. So for this task, the token cost was 1.44. What we additionally also show is, here what these tokens were utilized for. So if you click on this, just not even click, if you just hover over here, you will see the system prompt took 2.4k tokens, tool definition 5.6, and so on and so forth. Messages took 337.1. So we are also giving you a breakdown of how these tokens were utilized and consumed. Now let's go back to Bob. Okay, Bob is doing its work. Now, I will in parallel, right now we have a capability with Bob that we can start multiple tasks in parallel. So I don't need to wait for that UI modification to get over. Let me first explain you how to build a custom mode. So there's something called slash commands. If you see, we have pre-built some skills here, which you can also read about these pre-built skills in the skills section, like create plan, create mode, and I can call, say, a create mode skill, and then I can give a prompt. Can you build a skill that will, we've already built a document writer, explain every feature uh, in detail. Okay, so I'm creating a new mode. So whenever that mode is activated, if somebody wants to understand a particular feature, they will use that particular mode, and then ask Bob the prompt. So when I've given this prompt, Bob will work on building a new mode for me, and that mode will get listed in the mode section. And from here, I can choose if I want to edit this mode, if I want to delete this mode, what other properties I want to do. So see, when I invoked slash create mode feature, Bob is asking me, what do you specifically want to do? Do you want to build a scale? Do you want to build a both? Do you want to build mode? I just want a mode. So I'm clicking on, I just want a dedicate persona mode. And now you can see two of our tasks are running in parallel. Now similarly, let me start a new task because we have very less time. And there's something called, a lot of you must be using multiple platforms, right? For example, Figma is one. Say you also work with Jira, GitHub. You want to like build workflows, agents that talk to your GitHub tickets directly, pull the ticket, have Bob analyze it, make edit changes, and go and push your, not push, basically create a PR in the GitHub for the code changes that you have built. For that, you will have to create an MCP server. Right now, ignore this marketplace list. This is only available for internal IBMers, but this will also be available for you soon. So what you can do is, I don't even need to give a slash command of say create and configure MCP. I can say configure MCP server for GitHub, and Bob will itself invoke that skill. See, it kind of use the same skill, configure MCP, and it's going to build that skill for us. Now let me show you the dot Bob. Okay, let's close the settings. Uh, okay, I have the token. Let's say I have the token. For GitHub, we need a token. I want to create a, so yeah, so there are two options how you can build your mode scales, either for a particular workspace, which is this one, or if I say I want to build this global MCP connection, so any workspace and I load in Bob tomorrow, this MCP connection will be available for that. So there are always like two options, workspace or global. I don't want to paste the token, I will paste it later. Okay, let's also go back to our other tasks. Okay. Feature explain. If you want to also not use Bob to build a scale or MCP, you can go here, you can click on new, and you can choose like, okay, I want to build a new MCP an MCP JSON file will open, and you can give your here if you see two MCPs are already added. So even though it's working on creating a GitHub MCP here, it's already added the GitHub details. I also had a Figma MCP server. You can add a third one, say if you want to connect to Jira, or if you want to connect to say ServiceNow, or if you want to connect to another platform like so you can add that details in this JSON file. So as I was explaining you, mcp.json will have all your mcp connectors modes. If you see, like, I created the doc writer mode initially. Bob has added the feature explainer mode already here. So our feature explainer mode is already created. If I go to Bob settings, go to modes, you see the feature explainer mode got added here, and I can choose this mode and ask a feature related question. So feature explainer got added here. So this is how, like, you can use Bob itself to create modes, specific modes, MCPs. Now coming to skills, skills are also very similar. I'll just, instead of creating, I'll just explain. So as I showed you how to do create these specific modes, features, use slash commands to do the same. Either slash commands, or go to here, click on the add button, and then you can also, like, edit the files that you have, if you want to edit them directly instead of using Bob chat. Similarly, you can come on skill, you can add a plus button, define like what skill. Say this skill, in this skill, Bob should act as a UI designer and only make certain changes, or Bob should act as a front end developer, or Bob should act as a ticket triager and understand what type of issue has been reported, and tell me like which files to edit. And then you can give those skill instructions and create a new skill. And if you don't want to do it from here, you can also use the slash command, create skill, and give the prompt, and Bob will add that skill for you. Or if you don't even want to use the slash command, you just type your prompt, explain what the skill should be doing, and Bob will invoke the prompt, the skill itself, to build your own custom skill. So this is how you can build. Now talking about agents building is also similar. Let me go back to agent mode. Now, like, one agent might have one or multiple skills inside, right? Since you would be building your custom skills, or building your custom MCP connections, you can tell Bob, I want to build an agent that will pull every day the new GitHub tickets created for me, assigned to me, and then give me a summary of what I have to do in my day to day. This is one agent you want to build. And you have already built skill, you have already built an MCP connection for your GitHub, you have already built a skill of, like, triaging the ticket for you. So what you will do is, you will give the prompt, build me an agent using this skill, using MCP connection, and this is what you want to do, and Bob will build that agent for you. And this is the end of my demo. I hope I was able to explain you from very basic. I know, like, it was a bit rushed. I was doing multiple things at once, but I hope I was able to show you everything, because Bob has so many things and we have such limited time. I want to show everything that Bob is capable of. Even Bob is capable of many more things. I would want you all to explore it and give us feedback and be a part of our Bob universe. We call it Bobverse. And I'll come to questions, but if any of you don't have access to, let me actually show you. So we have our website called bob.ibm.com. You can go here. Let me go to the pricing page. We have a 30-day free trial access. We have 40 Bob coins given to you. As I explained you, one Bob coin is not equivalent to one token. One Bob coin is equivalent to many tokens. I will not disclose that, but you will, unless and until you are, like, giving your entire code base for every task, you will not exhaust 40 Bob coins. 40 Bob coins are good enough for 1 month. So that's what I want to say. Explore 40 Bob, explore the free trial version, download and explore Bob, try to build MCP servers, try to build skills, optimize your work, see where your how you want to, like, utilize your Bob in your development activity. And then you once you have Bob installed, you will be connected to our GitHub, where you can raise your enhancement. If you have, like, some enhancements request, if you are facing issues, you can directly raise it in our GitHub, and you'll be part of our Bobverse. So you can go to bob.ibm.com and register for a free trial. And then we also have paid versions. Unfortunately, the free trial is only there for 1 month, post which you'll have to move on to the paid version. We also have an enterprise version, which is more for enterprise, and for them, they'll have to reach out to our sales team. Now we also, actually, I couldn't show you the modernization flows. Let me go back to Bob. Now for if you have requirements of modernizing your Java apps, there's something called a premium package add-on. So only for people who are on our paid plans, you can access the premium package. Once you have the premium package, you will be able to click on this workflow and, sorry, let me go to another team. Yeah, you will be able to see the Java modernization, Java unit testing, vulnerability detection, these three workflows that is available for only the premium package people. And then but for non-premium package people also, we have two workflows: create pull request, open review panel. Basically what this one does is, for example, if you have done some code changes, right? You start this workflow, Bob is going to do an entire review and give you suggested changes, which are also available in something called Bob findings. So Bob findings is here available next to your terminal, where Bob will give you refactor, security, vulnerability suggestions. If there are issues in your code base, errors in your code base, it will give you in Bob findings. And create pull request is basically once you're done making all changes, editing everything, so instead of manually creating your PR, you can start this workflow, and this is an agent that Bob will automatically create your PR in your GitHub. So I'm feeling a bit that I couldn't show you all these features, but yeah, let's go back to our chat and see if there are any questions. Any other question?
Everyone can unmute their mic and ask questions if they have any.
Yeah.
This is a really good chance. You can get some idea from the expert.
So
We
I would
have,
say if
yeah,
you don't have any questions, it's also okay. Like, just go to Bob. I am gonna connect with.
Can you,
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Sagarika? I just arrived a little back earlier, so I
Yeah,
didn't listen the first part. But anyway, I have a simple question. If we want to build uh, a rack pipeline,
yeah,
plain simple rack pipeline, but but not using one of the uh, paid LLMs, but open source SLM or something like that. Uh, how easily or how difficult is it going to be building in IBM Bob?
yeah. Actually, so if you are asking Bob to help you build the rack pipeline, that is possible. Where you can, have the open source from, say, I'm assuming you will be using them from Hugging Face, right? Like, so you can have Bob architect your entire solution, see what is needed, how to create that vector database, how to use and have Bob, like, what you will be doing in this scenario. If I just put it in a short summary, you will be using Bob's model intelligence to build your rack pipeline.
Fair enough.
So yeah, so Bob will architect the entire solution for you, maybe help you code it out in your environment. So that's how, like, you can use Bob to do that.
And is there a tutorial or something like that somewhere in IBM? IBM used to have amazing tutorials once upon a time. I have been out of the IBM ecosystem for good amount of time. I am an old man. But
Yeah.
once upon a time, when I was connected to IBM had humongous, brilliant kind of tutorials, red books, etc., etc. I don't know what is the status today.
Yeah, we have. So good question, very good question. Let me share you something. We have something called IBM Bob YouTube channel.
Okay.
I am putting it in the chat here. We have a lot of content on how to use Bob, how to use certain particular features. Go through these tutorials. since we just released 2.0, we have a lot of other content also coming up soon. So we keep releasing content on this YouTube channel as tutorials for Bob.
Fair enough. Thanks, Sagrika. And I guess your coordinates will be with Shomodeep. I can take it from him and maybe send across a couple of things. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Okay, so thank you so much, Sagrika, for this incredible insight and deep dive and showcase.
Yep.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Somadeep, and thank you everyone for listening through. I hope I was at least if you are able to understand one feature of Bob, my job has been successful.
Yeah. So, as we wrap up this very first IBM User Group Kolkata meetup, I want to remind everyone that this is just a beginning. This user group is building by community for the community. We want to keep this momentum going, share knowledge, and host many more sessions in future, both virtually as well as probably in person very soon. Before we log off today, I have a quick request. Uh, Please follow our LinkedIn page of IBM User Group Kolkata. And thank you all once again for taking time out of your Tuesday morning app and your this journey with us. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe, and we will be seeing you in the next meetup. Thank you, everyone.